Carol's wife, Cherry, and his son, Josh, right there. They came to make sure he was here. A big part of his life. Carroll grew up on a farm in South Carolina. His mom taught him his first chords on the guitar. And he grew up in the church playing spiritual music, which is a good thing for Carroll. You know? But he found his life's purpose in that church. He learned what he was supposed to do with his life, play music and perform. And he does a great job at it. When he entered college, he started doing some Jim Croce, James Taylor type gigs. And he ended up playing, making his living in the college area doing that, just playing for a living. Paid his tuition. I'm gonna hold this here if that's all right. He graduated with a broadcasting degree, which kind of let him be a recording engineer. So he moved to Nashville and he tried it out there for a while. He worked at some good studios and he did some good stuff. Finally decided he had to settle down a little bit with Cherry, and so he moved down to Charleston in 1981. And the first gig he got was the Mills House, and then he got Tommy Condon's, and he stayed there forever. First time I met him, he was in Master Track Studios in Dave Reuter's old music store. I don't know if you remember Dave Reuter. Yeah, another good fella. And I was like, he was just getting started, and I'm like, I was recording a good bit at a time. I was playing from North Carolina down to Florida. And I was like, I'm gonna end up working with this guy one day. I could tell because he was just such a good guy. Fast forward 4 years, his studio grew overnight. I mean, he moved from here to there, ended up becoming a really nice studio, and he was getting some really good sounds in there. So I started recording in there, and he did several local acts, but he also did a lot of national stuff, like the Kingston Trio. He worked with Edwin McCain, Junk Little Children, all those guys came through the studio. And my little band came through there. And we kind of befriended each other, and after I recorded about 15 songs or so, he says, you ought to buy a studio. I didn't know that Carroll was such a good salesman, but he suckered me into buying that studio, and I've been regretting it ever since. But no, yeah, that's right. It's like a boat. The best day you have when you buy your boat, the day you buy it and the day you sell it, and it's the same way with a recording studio. But we became great friends after that. I've been honored to work with him, and I'll tell you the truth, after he sold that studio, that's when Carroll Brown became Carroll Brown. He was a lot before that, but his artistry started happening, and his first album was Roots and Wings, and it said exactly what he is. I mean, he is a down-to-earth country boy, but I was talking to somebody about this last night. Carroll's almost like a politician. He could run for president. He would give Trump a run for his money, because no matter where he is, he's at home. He can be in the city, and talking with city folks, and he's one of you guys, but he's in the country, he's one of you guys. It's a very unique talent that he has, that he's just down to earth, and he is who he is. He went on to do several Irish things. He became one of the most prominent Irish touring acts. He's now a road warrior. He plays from Virginia down to Florida, doing Irish gigs, doing folk gigs, doing country gigs. He does it all. I'm giving up on this, thank goodness. But I do want to say, if you've ever worked with Carroll Brown, he still loves what he does to this day. He has so much fun when he's on stage. If you're ever up there with him and you're in the band and you're playing, come the end of the night, everybody's ready for their bathroom break. Carroll goes, one more song, we're gonna be one more song. 6 songs later, we're all about to bust. And we're like, come on, Carroll, please. And he said, okay, one more song. 2 songs later, we leave the stage, leave Carroll there by himself. He's still up there playing. We have to go to the restroom. Yeah. Another thing I'll say about Carroll, he's a very giving person. He's one of the most giving people I know. He plays, every year he does a concert for a local school, and he does it for their music department, and he contributes to that. He plays at some recovery houses for recovering addicts, and he does this on his own time. And if there's ever a musician who's down on his luck or ill, he's the first one to throw a benefit for him and give them the proceeds. He's a damn fine human being and one of my best friends. And talking about Carroll Brown.
Thank you, Jay. Hey guys, a nice hand for Jay Miley. And I'd like to thank Michael and the association, the group, to put this on. What a nice gathering of like-minded people, and it's a lovely, lovely venue. I love this. And I've been saying for a couple of weeks now that this is more or less the old farts club for musicians, but what a nice gathering of people from all across the different genres to be in one place. Of course, I would like to thank, first of all, our friend Cecil Browning, who was to be here today. He was on his way and he fell ill. He had to go back home. He's the one that talked to me when I was running a radio station in Georgia. he talked me into moving to Mount Pleasant and going to work playing gigs again. I had been out of gigs, full-time gigs, since I was in Nashville and then radio. Ran radio stations in Tennessee and in Georgia. I even worked at WBER in Berkeley County Radio in Moncks Corner, South Carolina, when I moved to Charleston. Anyway, but he talked me into moving here in 1981. And the other person I would like to thank is Jay Miley, who was fool enough to buy my recording studio. Thank you, Jay. And of course, my family and my wife. My mother taught me the first chords on the guitar, and she's still with us today, thank God. She's 87. And I live across the field from her now. I had to sell the studio so I could go home and build a house on the farm. And I have Jay to thank for that. But she still writes songs today, my mom. And I have her her songs in my phone. She says, I just wrote one. I said, sing it for me. And so she sings it for me, so they're in my phone. How cool is that, Anyway, the other person that I certainly will thank is my good wife. She ran the radio stations with us. She ran the front of the house for the studio, and she also put up with a working musician all of these years. We've been married for 43 years. My wife, Cherry. Even today, she does all of the IT. If you buy something online, she sends it to you, and she does all the posters and the websites and all of that back of house business that I don't know how to do. And I wouldn't be standing here except for my good wife. Thank you.